Well, hello guys, it's me, Frank. How are you all doing this fine morning? It's time for a film review because yesterday I saw Ready Player One, aka I clapped when I saw the thing. Because I had to know, and I'm going to talk about the film now, and I've got a lot to say, so let's get right into it. This is going to be a spoiler talk. I'm going to talk about the whole plot. I'm going to spoil every single facet of the plot. So if you want to see the film, that's fine. If you just want me to talk about this film, that's okay, because I've got a lot to say. Hopefully this won't take very long. Ready Player One takes place in 2045. The future. And everyone lives in these fucking awful houses. They're basically like buses stacked on top of one another. It's like, you know when you get all your games and you just pile them up? It's like that. And you know when you get all your games and you give them a little tap while they're all piled up and they just fall over and fucking go everywhere? Yeah, it's like that. I don't know. I suppose it's because it's like a totalitarian government. So it's meant to be like, oh, we don't care about the poor people. But it's like, that's the most unsafe housing structure I've ever seen. I'm just saying. Our main character is Wade Watts. You can tell he's an interesting character because he's got one of those weird names, like Peter Parker or Bruce Banner, that all the superheroes have. That's literally why his dad gave him the name, because it sounded like a superhero. We're off to a good start. The world is shit. Everyone fucking hates it. So this guy was like, I'm gonna build this fucking big VR thing, and you're all gonna go in it, and it's gonna be great. But then he died, and then he was like, I hid a thingy in my game. If you find my hidden thingy, I will give you all the rights to the company. First off, that's a really dumb idea. Like, all the rights, all the proprietary money, whatever, the whole company, the whole game, to one person? That's stupid. What if, some guy, like some random neckbeard comes along and he doesn't know the first thing about like business or computing or whatever, and you just, oh, I'm in charge of a $500 trillion company. That's a good idea. Well done, Mr. Halliday. Good job. So it's been like 5 years and nobody's found the things you need to get the egg. There's 3 clues and nobody's found the first one. And what you're supposed to do is do this big racetrack, right? It's this big race. You've seen it in all the trailers. And, you know, the racetrack scene's okay. There's lots of cars exploding. There's the T-Rex. There's King Kong. And I knew what King Kong was, so I clapped when I saw him. And I'm surprised that they didn't play any music. You know? I'm really shocked that they didn't have some kind of scene like, step out on the highway, get to the Monday, you know, one of those fucking things like, haha, I picked the song because it's, you know, it's the song about going on the highway, so you put it in the race scene, you know. Also, one of the characters was like, oh, that's the Akira bike from Akira. I know what Akira is. Oh yeah, there's a character in this film. He's like an orc dude, and in real life, he's a black woman. Which I don't know if that was I hope that wasn't intentional, but, you know. Wade lives with his aunt and her abusive boyfriend. This could be a really interesting plot point if it wasn't in 2 scenes. There's literally 2 scenes, alright? Here's scene 1. Boyfriend comes in, he's like, and he's like, oh my god, it's like, she's like, it's like, and then the next scene is he tries to call them and they're like, fuck off, and then they explode and they're dead, and that's it. Like, those are the only 2 scenes, like, which is weird, because you'd think that they'd have more scenes where he's like with the family that he's got left, but it's only like 2 scenes because I guess we've got to pack more Hello Kitties and Tracers in to the film, you know. So then Wade goes to a museum which is run by this dude, this museum dude. This is important for later on. And the museum dude is like, you want to look at the memories? And he's like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll look at the memories. And then he's like, wait a minute, there's a clue in that memory. And the clue is that instead of going on the racetrack, you're supposed to go backwards. You're supposed to, like, reverse really hard into the wall. So that, like, you go completely under the track and you're actually able to finish the race. Because otherwise it's impossible. Which is... This thing's been running for 5 years at this point, right? Like, are you seriously trying to tell me that this contest has been running for 5 years at this point, and no one, not a single person, has decided, maybe I should reverse. Maybe reversing's a good strategy, because it doesn't seem to be working going forward. It's been 5 years, right? I'm sure that literally everyone has attempted to get this egg, right? Like, this is the virtual world and the real world shit. And the virtual world is, like, literally the greatest thing that's ever been created. Right? And you're telling me that not one person has decided to risk reversing. Because if you die, you lose all your stuff. Right? It's like an MMO. I'm assuming most MMOs are like that. I haven't played any. And you're telling me that not one person has decided, I think... Well, you know, I kind of lost everything on that last race, so maybe if I just go back... I don't know, man, that would seem like at least one person would have to have tried that before this film started, right? Alright, now's a good time to talk about the bad guy. He's your generic, really rich businessman, like, unnecessary, cartoonish Disney villain asshole that appears in a lot of these 90s films and 80s films that I guess it's supposed to be like, oh, remember back in the 80s when all the villains were really cartoonishly evil businessmen who wanted to, like, chop down the forests or whatever. And this guy, he goes into the game and he talks to this guy. And I like this, the guy he's talking to's design. This design's really good. He's like this big dude, right? I'm gonna stand up for this. He's like this big dude. He's got this big skull on his chest. And, like, the eyes are, like, see-through. Right? They're like, you know, it's all the way through the chest. He's got the big skull mouth, you know. And it's like, oh, that's a really good design. The joke with this guy is that he's voiced by TJ Miller. Right? So you've got this really big, like, tough, buff guy. You know, he's like... And then he talks, he's like, hey, I'm TJ Miller. What's up? It's good. I'm glad TJ Miller could come out of his busy schedule of the Emoji Movie and molesting girls to appear in Ready Player One. So then the big businessman guy is like, did you get the thing? And the guy's like, yeah, I got the thing. And it's like this big ball that puts up a big protective shield. And obviously this is going to use later, because, I mean, you know, they showed it, like, they had this whole setup scene, right? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's a lot of things in this film that are clearly set up for later, right? So this guy goes to buy things, right? He goes to buy things with the money he got for finding the key. Like, oh, it's a Rubik's Cube, but it reverses time by 60 seconds, right? And they walk past this item that I'm going to bring up later, okay? I'm going to tell you what the item does later. But they walk past this item, and the orc thing is like, what's that? And the guy's like, that's the thing. That's the thing. And he's like, why would you buy that? And why would you buy that? Why would you even put it in the game? I'll tell you what the thing does later, but it's really dumb that it even exists in the game, right? And it's pretty clear from the fact that they spent 10 seconds out of the film to offhandedly mention it, that it's clearly going to come up later because of how much of a bad, stupid fucking thing it is. Also, the orc is building the Iron Giant. I'm sure that won't come up later in the film at all. So then, the main character, Wade, or as he's known in game, Parsival, I guess. I was assuming that was a reference, and then they told me what it was referencing to my face. So, I'm assuming any form of subtlety is going right out the window there when you literally just tell people what your semi-obscure references. So Wade is like, man, that girl's fucking hot! I wanna fuck that! And the orc is like, dude, you don't wanna fuck that. what if it's a £300 man? And like, that's setting up for the, oh, it's a black woman joke later on. But I was like, that could be interesting. You know, like, what if it's actually like, oh, she's a spy for the company, or she's a mole, or, you know, it's like, oh, it's his aunt, because they've clearly set up that, like, oh, she really likes the game, so it's like, oh, that would be a really, like, that would, like, that would actually be super uncomfortable, so I'm glad they didn't do that. But, you know, she's just, like, she's like a resistance fighter. That's really it. She's not, like, secretly a villain, and then, like, he turns her to the good side by being such a great person, or whatever, you know. It's just like, she's just a, you know, she's just a good person. Which is kind of a wasted opportunity, if you ask me. So then, they're like, okay, well, I think the clue's at the nightclub. So they're like, okay, we're gonna go to the nightclub. And then the guy's like, man, I wanna fuck you. And then all the dudes come in and are like, and then he goes like, oh my god, you fucked it all up. No, they know your real name. Oh, it's all fucked. And then he gets this message from the businessman. The businessman's like, in his stupid, like big Emperor Evil Throne VR chair. And he's like, you can work for me and I'll pay you 25 million a week. And it's like, bitch, fuck out of here. And the bad guy's like, okay, well, I'm gonna murder your family now. The guy's like, what? And his fucking aunt gets blown the fuck up. Like, it's just, he calls them, and the boyfriend's like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And there's an explosion, right? Like, these 3 tiny explosions, and then the whole thing comes, like, which, you know, like, why would you design a house to just be like this massive tall stack? You get that stack high enough, anything's gonna tip it over, you know? And like this isn't like well-maintained ground, alright? This is in like a big dump with like cars lying around, so I'm sure the ground's probably like fucking weak as well. It could like go and it just like, you know? Like, fuck's sake. So he gets knocked out and he gets taken to the resistance base and he meets the girl, Samantha. She's a ginger. And, you know, he meets all the resistance dudes and he's like, what's up, what's good? And then he goes like, I know where the clue is. So they go to get the clue. You know how the marketing for this film was like, I remember that. I know what that is. You know how it was all like, you remember Tracer and Chun-Li and the Battletoads? You remember Star Wars? There wasn't any Star Wars in the film. I was very surprised. But it's like, you know what that is, right? Clap, clap, clap. You get the reference. Now, some of these references are like, blink and you'll miss it. Okay? Like, Beetlejuice turns up. And if you notice Beetlejuice, there's Beetlejuice. And, you know, there's some really, like, I don't know, I probably missed, like, half the references in this movie because they were all, like, in the background of, like, the big final fight scene where everyone's fighting each other and there's, like, fog and shit, so it's kind of hard to tell. Or, like, I didn't understand what they were referencing, you know? So it's like, now, I expect some references. But the next 10 minutes of this film are some of the most remember this fucking shit right here, okay? Like, this is almost absurd in how hard it's trying to pander. Like, I find it pandering, right? And I love the thing they're referencing, right? So they're like, well, the clue must be in this movie. Because he took this girl to a movie, but he didn't get with her, and it's like his biggest regret. It's like, I didn't get with her, and then my business partner got with her. Okay, what movie did he go to see with her? Oh, he went to see The Shining. So they do The Shining. They go into the hotel from The Shining, and they go up to the typewriter, and it's spitting out the all work and no play thing, right? And then the orc dude walks out, and it's the little girls, and they're like, "Come play with us, Danny." And then the elevator comes out, and it does the blood, and he goes by the portrait of Jack Nicholson at the end with all the people, but it's the guy who made the game instead because it's like symbolic or whatever. And he goes into room 237, and a naked lady comes out of the top, and he's like, and then he falls into the hedge maze, and the naked lady's like 50 foot tall, and she's coming at him with the axe, and it's like, axe is coming out, and it's like, and he comes out, and they go into the ballroom, and it's like the ballroom scene, and the music's playing, and it's just The Shining. Like, it's literally just a retread of The Shining, and it's the most fucking, like, remember this shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, this isn't even subtle. They're not, like, it's literally just, oh, remember The Shining, we're doing The Shining, remember that bit from The Shining, we're doing The Shining, we're doing the elevator scene. They didn't do the dog blowjob scene, because it's a 12A. But, you know, Jesus Christ, it's the most, like, fucking nostalgia pandering thing I've ever seen. Anyway, they get the key, and then they find out where they are, and the government, big bad company dude, they find out where they are, and they bring them out, and they're like chasing them around, and the girl gets captured, and she gets put in like this, she's basically forced to work to like help the company find the treasure, you know, one of those sort of things. So then it's like, okay, well, we know where the third clue is now, because they fucking surrounded it with a massive force field. Like, it couldn't be more obvious, like, that's where they're hiding it. They put the big orb up that I mentioned, and, like, they've put up this fucking force field. And it's like, gee, I wonder where the clue is. I guess we don't need to decipher the clue, because they made it flagrantly obvious where the fuck it is. Right? And the game is like, it's like, oh, you gotta complete an Atari 2600 game, and they're going through all the Atari 2600 games to try and figure out which one's the correct one to finish, otherwise they get dropped into ice, whatever. And you've got all these boffins of like stereotypical nerd shits, and they're like, it wasn't Super Breakout, and then they start playing Adventure, and it's like, oh, it must be Adventure, because he's actually like making a lot of progress. Right, so now the race is like, stop this guy before he completes, stop this single mook before he completes Adventure and gets the key for the company, right? So then they go to the place, okay? They go to, like, it's this big, like, open, barren wasteland, and there's a big fucking castle with a force field around it. And they, like, they basically do some hacking bullshit, like, and they get the girl out. And then she decides to plug herself back in so that she can take down the force field. And she takes down the force field. And then she's like, oh, she runs out onto the battlefield to help. While she's doing that, the guy's like giving this really generic inspirational speech about like, this is our home, and these people want to take it away from us. So we can go out there, and I want you to fight with me. And it's like, the big fucking crowd shot, everyone's like coming up over the mountainside. The Iron Giant's here. Yeah, the Iron Giant. She gets, the orc girl switches out for the Iron Giant, and she becomes the Iron Giant. She's like, clang, 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 I'm the Iron Giant. And, you know, my favourite part of the Iron Giant was when he shot people with lasers and crushed people to death. That was my favourite part of a film about a machine who everyone thinks wants to kill them, but is actually, you know, like, peaceful, and the whole point of the thing is that, like, he isn't a weapon. I really like the part where he shot lasers at people and crushed them underfoot and, like, tore them in half and shit and punched things. That was my favourite part of the Iron Giant, when he said, you go, I stay, no following. And then he dropped an atomic bomb on Iraq. That was my favourite part of the Iron Giant. I guess, to be fair, I mean, he is inspired by Superman. And, you know, Superman nowadays, he's, you know, he's a bit of a cunt. Alright, so this final battle's going on, and it's like, there's a guy, he's got the boombox over his, he's like, we're not gonna take it! And it's like, because they're not gonna take it, because they're gonna fight back, very original. And it's like, oh, this fucking mess of CGI, right? It's just fucking like, oh, everything's coming out, they're just fucking battering each other, the fuck. And then, fucking, like, murdering everything. And just fucking, like, I can barely tell what's happening on screen. And a girl joins up with the dude, he's in his DeLorean. It's like, the clues in the castle. And they're like, okay, we're gonna go to the castle, I guess. And the big villain CEO dude comes out, he's like, and then he gets in a Mechagodzilla. And I know it's Mechagodzilla because the girl says it's Mechagodzilla. And then, like, clapped. And, you know, it's like, oh, that's Mechagodzilla. But then she says, oh, it's Mechagodzilla. It's like, wow, it's not like I can fucking see, it's Mechagodzilla. This happens a lot in the film where you see something and you're like, I know what that is, but then they tell you what it is. It's like, I knew what that was. It happened a lot in the opening as well, I should have mentioned. There was a lot of narration for, like, the first 10 minutes of the film. It's like, well, I could probably get most of this stuff from, like, observing the movie. Like, this place is really dangerous. I can see it's really dangerous. There's, like, tons of dudes fighting each other, you know? This company wants the thing. I can tell they want the thing, because they're all plugging themselves in to get to the thing, you know? Like, show, don't tell. So, Mechagodzilla's running around, kicking shit out of everything, and the Iron Giant's fighting everything, right? He's going... you know that leaked script thing that was going around where the Iron Giant was like, I'm not a gun, this is a gun. And then he pulls out a gun and he pulls out a sword, but the sword is also a gun. That's not in the film. That was fake. So then the Gundam comes in. Yes, it's a Gundam. I know it's a Gundam now, because he says it's a Gundam. I genuinely thought it was a Voltron. Well, it wasn't like a bit. Okay, so the Gundam comes in, and then he's only there for like 2 minutes. You know, like literally 2 minutes. Like the power-up says you can only be a giant robot for 2 minutes. By the way, they showed that at the start of the film as well. And you know, that was clearly setting up for something. It's like every single thing they mention, they're going to bring it back at some point. And it's like, didn't really need to be told there was a thing that turns people into a giant robot for 2 minutes, because he uses the thing, he like clearly like turns it on. It's like, it could have just been like, you've clearly set up that there are like other items with special abilities. You didn't need to set it up earlier on in the film, you know? So then off goes the Gundam, and he's fighting Mechagodzilla, and then the girl throws a mad ball in. Remember the mad balls? But the difference is that the mad ball is explosive. So Mechagodzilla's down, and the big CEO guy's out for a couple seconds. So then the big CEO guy's like, I thought we kidnapped that girl. I'm gonna go around every single pod and see if she's in one of them. You know, he's lifting up the visors, just like, where the fuck is she? So then they get up to the big, like, glowing gates, and then TJ Miller blows up the bridge, and the Iron Giant's like, reaches the big bridge, and then falls into the fucking lava. And it's like, oh, the Iron Giant, oh, he's dead. Oh, well, I guess you can't kill people with lasers anymore. And then the guy's like, you gotta get out of there, you gotta meet us in the van that we're driving around in, because the government's chasing us. It's like a little, like, oh, where are they? You know, we gotta find them. So, he shoots the girlfriend, and she gets out of the game, and she manages to escape before she gets caught by the dudes, right? And she's, like, running around on the street. So then, the guy, like, runs in, okay? And he sees that the dude's still playing Adventure, but then the dude, like, falls through the ice, so it's like, okay, even though he won the game, right? Like, he still fell. And then he realises, my God, you're actually supposed to find the Easter egg. The first Easter egg ever put in a video game. It's not about winning the game, it's about exploring it. Okay. There were these two old ladies, in front of me, right? Oh my god, they were having the time of their lives. They were so happy. They were literally like clapping, like and they were laughing their heads off, and it was like, it was actually really sweet just watching these like 70, 80-year-old women just be like, it's like, oh, it's nice to see someone enjoying themselves. Like, they pull out Chucky, and they're like, oh, I'm not trying to make fun of them, okay? I'm like, you know, it's nice that someone's having fun in this thing. Here's the scene. Alright, here's the moment where that item I mentioned earlier comes up. So the big CEO guy comes out, and he's got the item, and he activates the item, and the item gets used. Okay? This item kills everyone in the game. It kills every single player in the entire game. Every single person in it is killed instantly the second it's used. They just all explode everywhere, and they lose all their items and shit, you know? Why would you put that in the game? Why would that item be in the game? Alright, let's think about this real clearly, okay? You've got this thing going on where you have to find Easter eggs or clues or whatever to find the Easter egg, you know? You have to get all the things to do it. And the guy who's made this game, he's like on his deathbed. He's like, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to do this real good. Everyone's going to have a great time. But I'm not going to take out the item that annihilates every single person in the game and makes them lose all their progress. I'm not going to take that out before this big competition. Why? How the fuck does that work? Would you not like take that item out? Alright? Oh, it's super expensive. It's like 2 million. You know there's someone out there with 2 million in this game who's played it all their life. You know why they don't buy that item? Because that's a dick fucking move. And it's like, this is their people's lives, and they live in this fucking shithouse future, and it's like, I don't want to live there. So I'd assume that not many people would go and buy that item. So why would you even put an item in the game that fucking murders everyone, in a game where you lose everything if you die? Why would you not, like, remove that before this competition starts? Especially since you know that this company is fronted by this fucking cockhead asshole who's like one of the worst human beings around, right? It doesn't make any sense why there'd just be this fucking item in that just kills everyone and it wouldn't get rid of it. It's so fucking stupid. Why would that be in the game? I don't understand why you don't take that out at some point. It's so dumb. Alright, so it looks like everyone's gone. No one's going to be able to get the clue. But then it turns out that early in the film, that museum guy I mentioned, he gave the guy a quarter. But it was actually an extra life, okay? And they never brought up anywhere in the film that extra lives were a thing in this universe. But suddenly they are. And we were somehow supposed to figure out that that quarter was an extra life. Okay. I guess. So then he finds the Easter egg and he gets the thing, and the guy's like computer character thing's like, very well done. Now sign the thing in and we're gonna have the whole company. But it's like, no, this is wrong. This is a test because you did the same thing and you regretted it for the rest of your life, and that's what the competition was trying to teach. She's like, very, very good. And then he brings him into this area. And there's this really weird moment where he's like, this is a button that will delete every single thing in the game. And like, because they're in a car while this is happening and they're being chased and bumping around, he almost hits the button. He's like, don't fucking do that. And it's like, oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna push the button to stop the bad guy getting it, and it's like, oh, the real world's great as well, but no, it never comes up again. Like, the film just kind of ends, and it's just kind of like fucking, well, there's a button that deletes everything. I don't know why that button's there, because they never do anything with it, apart from, like, that little joke. You know, you'd think that something that important would have some use, right? So while all this has been going on, there's been, like, this big car chase coming along, and there's, like, people being kicked out the back, and the henchwoman comes in, she's got the gun, and then she gets kicked out, she's like, ah! You know? And it's like, alright, well, they've crashed now, they've crashed in the big domino tower, whoopsie doodles, everyone's fucking dead, because someone kicked a rock through a window. Right, they're in that place, and then all the people are like, you get the fuck out of here, you fucking killed that person, you fucking blew it up. You killed like several people with that tiny little explosion that sent the whole thing careening down, right? And he's like, well, I've got a gun, so fuck you. And it's like, oh, he's going to go in and he's going to shoot them, right? So here's what I thought was going to happen. So in the game, the guy has got the egg, right? He's holding the egg in his hands, alright? Technically, he owns the company now. What I thought was going to happen was that he'd come in and he'd shoot him, right? While he's holding the egg. And he's like, ugh! And he's like, as he's dying, he'd go over and he'd push the button. And the whole thing would get deleted. And he'd be like, fuck you, Mr. Corporation Man. But no, what happens is he opens it up. And he sees that the guy has won. And he just sort of gives up. Like, he literally just puts the gun down. And he's like, I guess I've lost. And the police come by and are like, we're arresting you. And he's like, okay. Why? Doesn't really see the error of his ways. He's still kind of a dickhead. He just sort of, like, sees that the guy has won. And he's just kind of puts the gun down. Like, I'd expect him to, like, be like, well, fuck you anyway, bang, you know, like that. But no, he just kind of stops, and then the police take him away. It just doesn't make any sense. Such a weird ending. So then he comes out of the game, and he's like, I did it, I won, everything's great, and there's a crowd, and they're like, whoa, you did it, because it was all being live streamed, and it's like, whoa, you did it, woohoo! And then, like, Simon Pegg comes up. Simon Pegg's in this film, by the way. Simon Pegg comes up as, like, the guy who used to run the company with the other dude before he got kicked out. And he's like, well, I guess you're the owners now. And he's like, I'm going to be the owner with all my friends. I guess we're giving this entire company to 5 teenagers. No, not even that. 4 teenagers and an 11-year-old boy now run this $500 billion fucking game that everyone loves. I'm sure they won't run it into the ground in like a year. But I guess that they also hire Simon Pegg as like a sort of like, well, I guess if we fuck up, you're there. By the way, Simon Pegg was the museum guy, which they never really foreshadowed at all. And he gave him the extra life. It's like, okay, I guess. And then the film ends. And these closing credits are really weird. Because you'd expect a big film like this to have these closing credits that are like full of more references and nostalgia, you know, they've got like the crazy graphics going on. You know, the end of Suicide Squad where they've got like the names coming in and there's all the things going around it, and it's like this really it's this really creative looking ending thing, right? But it's like, no, it's just like the names come up on screen. Well, a song plays. So anyway, that was really weird how they didn't have anything going on with the credits. I didn't stick around to see if there was a post-credit scene because everyone had already left. And that was the end of the film. That was the end of Ready Player One. So what did I think of Ready Player One? Well, the CGI was good. I'll give them that. The CGI, it looked like a real, like, sort of video game thing. You know, it was very consistent in the way it was done. You know? Like, everyone looked really, like, good. It didn't look, like, out of place or anything. It took a little bit to get adjusted to, because they looked like, it looked, like, a little weird. But then you kind of just accept, like, okay, this is the world we live in now. This is, like, This is what everyone looks like. There weren't any 5-minute long scenes where the guy just named off things he knew. You know? There weren't really any, like, big, long, like... there's a bit in the book where he's just, like, naming off giant robots that he knows. So you can pick one for the final battle. He didn't, like, go into this big, long narration. You know that bit that everyone was shitposting about? Where it's, like, a whole page where he's just talking about, like... I outfitted my car with the kit, and it had the Ghostbusters logo, and all this shit, and he's, like, talking about, like, how smart he is, and it's like, oh, it's this really fucking awful scene, right? They didn't have the scene where he talks about masturbation. They didn't have the scene where he, like, fucking asks someone if they were post-op transsexual. I don't know why you'd write that. It's a really dumb thing to write in your book. You know, the writing was okay. There were a few moments where it's like, I know what that is. You don't need to tell me what that is. The villain was kind of cliche. Some of the writing was a bit dumb. I have a lot of issues with the plot. But, you know, if you're going here to, like, remember a whole bunch of shit from your childhood, it's like, oh, it's got that in spades. You're going to notice, like, 5 or 6 things, you know. You know, the CGI was good. The acting was good. Everything was good in this film, apart from the general plot. Like, there were a lot of moments in the film where the plot just seemed really dumb and, like, nonsensical. So I'm gonna give it a 6. If I spotted Ice Knack in the film, because apparently Knack was in the film, and if I'd seen Knack, baby, this film would have got a fucking 10. Straight across the board, film of the year, but I didn't notice Knack, and I'm sure Knack was in the film somewhere. I didn't notice a lot of the things that I've been told were in the film. But I didn't notice Knack, and that was the most important thing. So sadly, I'm going to have this movie somewhere between a 5, 6. I'm going to give it a 6. Just pretend that I put a 6 up there. I'm going to give it a 6. You know, I'm feeling a strong 6. It wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be. But I mean, I'd set the bar pretty low, so I can't be surprised. So that was my ramble about Ready Player One. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like, drop a subscribe. I wasn't planning on talking for more than 40 minutes. But, you know, I guess it just kind of happened because I had a lot to talk about because I'd just seen this film and I had to get everything out. So, you know, hope you guys have a good time. Only Plays Kingdom Hearts Part 2 is coming this Sunday, hopefully. That's when I'm aiming to get it out. Have a good time. Have a good day. See the film if you want. I don't care if you like things I don't like. I found it okay. But, you know, you can see it if you like. I don't really give a shit. And, yeah, that's it. Hopefully you made it to the end. You probably didn't. Bye.